Hey guys, it's Alicia Dumovich, the acting mentor, coming at you with your tip for today. So today we're going to talk about the rehearsal process. In the last few videos we talked about getting your hands on some scripts and starting to practice at home, and then we talked about what to do with those scripts when you get it, how to begin your scene breakdown process, understanding what's going on, and how to sort of create a roadmap for yourself as you go through your scene. So now I want to talk about what you do to get the scene on its feet and to really start practicing it and getting into it and creating a performance and how you get there. So I really am a big proponent of getting it on its feet. And what I mean by that is don't just sit there in your room reading it quietly. That's not going to do you any good because you're not going to do that when you're actually auditioning or performing it. So reading it quietly isn't very helpful beyond what you do initially when you're reading it for comprehension. So start practicing it out loud, okay? When you're practicing out loud, if you've got somebody to practice with, that's so awesome. Practice with them. Have them read with you the other characters' lines. Just a few little things about a script. When you're looking at a scene, and a lot of people don't know this, so when you're looking at a scene, the lines that your character has are going to be... you're going to have the character name, and then it's going to be underneath the name of the character is going to be the line. If something is in parentheses, that means that it's not your line. That just means it's an action or it's something that they're wanting you to consider as you say the next part of the line. All right, so, and then if it's, and that's going to be justified on the page. And then across the page, if it's going all the way across and there's just information and direction, that's all stuff that's not read out loud either. That's just to kind of set the scene so that you know what's going on. As you're practicing with someone, just let them know what they're supposed to read and what they're not supposed to read. So a lot of times when I read it initially, I might read all that stuff out loud so that we are both on the same page about what's going on. But then when I really start practicing it, you just want to say the lines that the characters have. So, I would say too that if you're going to practice with a family member, I think that it's important to let them know that, at least initially, that you're not looking for feedback on your performance, that you're really just looking for someone to practice out loud with you. And then as you go along, if you want to invite some criticism or you want to invite some feedback, then you can do that. But I think that it's important to be able to just practice it without that fear of judgment, because you're not there yet. You haven't gotten it where it needs to be yet. And so, I think a lot of us are always really eager to make mom or dad or even a sibling or a friend think that we're great and to make them proud. And so we want them to feel like we're good, and then if they give us criticism, it hurts our ego and it makes us feel insecure. And the rehearsal process is not time for that. The rehearsal process is the time where you're developing it and you're trying to figure it out. So just lay it out there what you're needing in that moment, that way they can give it to you. But let's say you don't have someone to rehearse with, or you just really don't want to practice with anyone that you know, and believe me, I totally get that too. So I'm going to show you a little trick that you can use when you are practicing by yourself. Okay, so you don't have a scene partner, what do? This is what you're going to do. You're going to take your phone and you're going to go to the record setting on your phone to video record, okay? So just on my little phone here, it's right there. And I'm going to record the other person's lines onto my recorder, but I'm going to leave space for my lines, okay? So that I can practice with myself and hear my cue lines and learn my cues without having to read both characters. So it enables me to practice and focus on my own character and not have to think about the other character, but still be able to learn the rhythm of the scene. So here's how it goes. This is a scene and the characters are Officer and Kate. So I will be Kate and I'm going to read the officer's lines onto here. Here we go. Here you go. I'm sorry about what you went through. They're taking him to the ER right now. So far they found 7, but they're still going through the building. So I mouth my own words and then to leave space for my lines. You want to make sure that when you're mouthing your lines that you take your time with it so that you're not rushed, like doing it at an actual pace that you're going to be saying your lines at. So now I'll show you how it works out.
Here you go.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about what you went through.
What's going to happen to the people in there?
They're taking him to the ER right now.
How many were there?
So far they found 7, but they're still going through the building.
How many total? And that's how you can practice your lines and get your cue lines without having to have anybody to practice with. So that's something that I find to be really helpful, because you want to really focus on your character and on learning your lines, and learning the cues is a really important part of that. And then that way also you can be reacting and you can be picturing that other person as opposed to feeling like you have to be the other person. So after you've done that, and as you're working on it, I want to talk just about the difference, in my opinion, between memorization of your lines and learning your lines. So a lot of people sit down and they say they're going to memorize their lines, but I just think that that's a bit of a fallacy, because frequently if you just sit down and you memorize your lines and you're just reading it over and over again and memorizing it like you would a list for a test, then you're not really learning it in context. And so 2 things are going to happen. One, you're probably going to sound like you're reciting lines that you've memorized. It's going to sound like a speech, or you're going to fall into a certain pattern and way of saying it, and it's going to prevent you from really working the lines and keeping them fluid based on whatever's happening in the moment with the person you're reading the scene with. And then another thing's going to happen. Once you get out of your comfort zone, once you're out of your bedroom, your car, wherever it is that you like to practice your lines, and you start getting it on its feet and you get it out and you're working with other people, you're probably going to forget them because you've learned them this one way, and now when we're having to have other things going on, you're going to go up on your lines because you're just not as comfortable with them in context as you should be. So that's why I'm a big proponent of learning your lines. And what that means is that you are going to rehearse it, you're going to practice it out loud, you're going to rehearse it like I just showed you, or with someone that you're really going to be talking to and practicing with. And eventually those lines are going to be a part of you, and you're going to learn them and you're going to know them. And you're going to start to trust yourself, and you're going to look at the script less and less, and then eventually you're going to say, I know that I know this, and you're going to put it down, and I promise you it's like magic. You're going to be able to do the scene, and you're going to know your lines without having to think about it. So that's my preferred process of learning lines, so that you can keep it more believable and more spontaneous. I also recommend videoing yourself. It's important to be able to watch yourself back, but I don't recommend that you practice in the mirror. So a lot of people say, well, I want to be able to see what I'm doing, so I practice in the mirror. The problem with that is that you are being the actor in that moment. You're judging yourself, right? And you're not really in character, and you're not really being in the moment, because you can't be. You're judging the way you look, or the way your hair looks, or the face that you're making. You guys, acting is not making faces, okay? It's about being in the moment, acting believably in these imaginary circumstances. So if you look in the mirror, it's just taking you out of the moment. Now, the alternative to that is recording yourself, setting up a camera, setting up your phone to record you, so that you can then watch it back later, and then you can be the actor and you can sit there and say, okay, I thought this looked really believable. Oh gosh, my voice did something weird there. And you can start to get an objective outsider's perspective of your performance, so that you can make changes that you feel like you want to make. So I mentioned something about your voice doing weird things. I call that actor voice. Most of us, when we perform, we suddenly start talking higher and we have a voice, and that's actor voice. And we don't want to use actor voice. We don't need to use actor voice. I want you to really work on keeping your voice in its normal register and talking in the normal pitch that you talk in, because that's what's going to really make us feel like you're more believable and that you're not acting and putting on a performance. So get yourself out of doing actor voice. Pay attention to your scene partner, all right? The person in the scene with you is going to give you everything you need to play the scene. So put your attention and focus on them and not on how you want to say something, all right? I don't care how you want to say something. You need to react and respond to the person that's in the scene with you. So make sure that you're focused on what they're doing, that you're really actively listening to them, that you're reacting to what they're giving you, all right? The reacting is 50% of it, okay? Because half the time you're not the one talking, the other person is. And it is equally as important that you be listening and reacting. So just waiting to say your next line or looking down at the script about what comes next, That's not being in the scene with the other person. And I bet you if you watch some television tonight or you watch a movie tonight, I want you to pay attention to how much of the time the camera's on the person that is reacting, not the person that's talking. And you're gonna be surprised to find that it's more than you think. So people that just kind of shut down and really aren't participating in the scene in between their lines are not in the game. So make sure that you're reacting, okay? Trust yourself, trust your instincts, all right? If something feels like you're pushing it, if it doesn't feel right, then it probably isn't, right? So stop yourself, make an adjustment, try it again. Start to listen to that voice in your head that says, ooh, that was just too much, my face did too much there, or my voice did a weird thing. Listen to that voice, trust it, make your adjustments. And also the last thing I want to mention is kind of standing versus sitting when you're rehearsing. Everybody's more comfortable sitting, everybody's more comfortable tethering themselves to something. It makes you feel grounded. But a lot of times in auditions, you're not going to be able to be tethered to something. You're not going to be sitting unless you're actually sitting in the scene. So force yourself to stand up and practice it standing in the middle of an empty space, because you need to be able to be grounded and in your own skin when you're not touching anything or sitting or feeling your most comfortable. And a way to sort of transition into feeling more comfortable doing that is act the scene out. So if you're doing a scene where you're in the kitchen making dinner, then practice the scene while you're making dinner. And that'll kind of help you to feel what that would actually feel like if you were doing the scene full out that way. And then it'll start to help you transition into just being able to stand and do the scene like you might do in an actual audition. So those are my rehearsal tips for today. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you liked the video today and you thought it was helpful to you guys, please like it and comment below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, follow me on Facebook, and we'll have the website up soon, theactingmentor.net. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm really having fun doing these, so I hope you're having fun watching, and I'll see you guys soon.